just before Rav Shai begins his shiur. It's a great pleasure to see all of you joining our weekly learning at Baka, and since we've gone Zoom, Baruch Hashem, many have been taking part. Just before I say a few words, Nathan, who is our administrator of Zoom for Torah Mitzion, is with us. And if anyone needs any help, you can call him directly. But what we're going to do, we're going to put everyone's speakers on mute. And during the shiur, Rav Shai, if somebody has a question, he'll be able to raise his hand and ask Rav Shai, and then you can unmute yourselves, okay? So there's no background noise, and that way we'll be able to focus on the shiur. In between the shiurim, you'll have time for a break and to go and prepare, tea, coffee on the house, obviously, before the next shiur with Rabbi Weitzman. So just before I begin, obviously these are trying times for all, so I'd like this shiur to be refuah shlema for all those that are not well during this trying time, the coronavirus in places around the world. And please have in mind that you personally dedicate this learning refuah shlema. Our bat sherut that usually comes to see you at Baka was at a wedding a few weeks ago in America and came back, and her and her parents have got corona, and also her grandfather is ill with corona in New York, so we also dedicate in refuah shlema. So refuah shlema to all cholei Am Yisrael and of all mankind.
How do you raise your hand, by the way? You asked how to is it with chat, or you said we can raise our hands?
Okay, so Nathan, do you want to explain how to raise your hand?
There is a small icon on participants block with hand. You click on hand, and I see you are raising hand.
So if you go on full screen, when you're on full screen, okay, and you see all the participants on the lower part, it says they invite participants, share chat. So where you go to participants, you click on that, and then on the bottom, it says, mute me or raise hand.
Got it.
Okay, so you can press raise hand.
No, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just before we begin, I'd like to also say that this is a time that we'd like to turn to all our friends who consider supporting Torah Mitzion, those who have not done so until now. Yes, we also thrive on donations, so if you would consider that amongst all the other charities, we appreciate that very much. So on behalf of Torah Mitzion, we'd like to wish you all a Chag Bari, Sameach v'Kasher, and we'll reunite after Pesach. We'll update you by email. So this will be the last session today with Rav Shai and Rav Weitzman. And so Chag Sameach to all, and B'hatzlacha, and a big hug from us to all of you. Thank you very much.
Okay, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Boker Tov.
Boker Tov.
Okay, good to see you all, or everyone I can see on the screen. And today I'm going just to, I just need to be able to share screen.
You can.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. 1 second. Here we go. Got it? Okay, can you see it? Yeah. Everyone can see the socials? Okay, good.
Yes.
Maybe I will just make it a little bigger even.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so what we will do today, we will try to understand what we call in Halacha ishtalshelut halacha, meaning the way that the Halacha came about, and some kind of really even transformational changes in Halacha, what it used to be, how it evolved, and how do we see Halacha today. So I picked two main issues that are obviously related to Pesach, which is the bitul chametz, to the nullification of chametz and how it was done before and how it is being done today. And we will explain, obviously, how it came about. And the second thing is the mechirat chametz, how it used to be, how it evolved, and how do we do it today. So if we look at the din Torah, really at the law according to the Torah, so the Torah says the following: Shivat yamim seor lo yimatzeh bevateichem, that for 7 days you should not have in your house, it cannot be found in your house, seor, yeast, כי כל אוכל מחמצת ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מעדת ישראל בגר ובאזרח הארץ. For 7 days, you should not have any yeast in your homes, which means, by the way, just as a side note, if it's not in my home, but it belongs to me, it will be fine, because the emphasis is, and the highlight is, bevateichem, in your homes. And then it says, if you eat machmetzet, if you eat something that is chametz, so then there is onesh karet, there is the punishment of karet, of being cut off. Okay, so that's the first prohibition, lo yimatzeh bevateichem. Then we have another one. Shivat yamim matzot tochelu, ach bayom harishon tashbitu seor mi bateichem. Now, what is this word tashbitu? Tashbitu, the thing that we know about tashbitu is like from the word Shabbat. Okay, Shabbat is like to rest, so to leave it alone. So we don't know exactly yet, according to the Torah, what does it mean, the word tashbitu. But it says tashbitu seor, again, from where? Mi bateichem. It seems to be that the focus is on the bite, on the home. Why? כי כל אוכל חמץ ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מישראל. And then we have another one. מצות יאכל את 7 הימים ולא ייראה לך חמץ ולא ייראה לך שאור. Now it says there is an expansion, בכל גבוליך. So here we have 2 new things in this pasuk. The first thing that we have in this pasuk is the idea of what? Of לא ייראה לך חמץ ולא ייראה לך שאור. So 2 different types of chametz and seor. And then we have some kind of an expansion, bechol gvulecha, not only babait, but also in your gvul. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean in my territory, in my yard, in my home, in my backyard? What does it mean, bechol gvulecha? Bechol gvulecha means on the national scale, which means the entire land of Israel. So what does it mean? So really, according to the Torah, if I look at the Torah, one thing I know for sure, I shouldn't have any chametz in my house. I shouldn't see chametz in my house, which, by the way, if, for example, someone who is not Jewish come with chametz to my house on Pesach, do I violate the isur of lo yira'eh lecha chametz? I'm not sure. It seems to be that the focus is not in terms of ownership. The focus is in terms of location. In your home, you shouldn't have any chametz. So that's according to Din Torah. In terms of Din Torah, this is the entire thing is Din Torah, based on the Torah. On the Torah, we have something very, very clear. You should not lo yira'eh, you should not see chametz, lo yimatzeh, chametz should not be found in your home, tashbitu, that we don't know exactly what it is, and also the isur, the prohibition of not eating chametz. Until now, everything is good. Just raise your hand that you are with me. Good, thank you. However, when we go to the beginning of the era of end of Beit Sheni, the end of the Second Temple, into the time of the Mishnayot, we have a very interesting thing in the Tosefta. The Tosefta here, Masechet Pesachim, this is a Tanaic source, which is around the same time that Rebbe composed the Mishnayot, which was 200, was the beginning of the 3rd century. And here, by the way, it just said Lieberman. Lieberman was the one to take the Tosefta, to put it together. He was a tremendous Talmid Chacham. Also, he wrote Tosefta Kipshuta, which basically he took the manuscripts and he put it together and he put the Arot. And in the Tosefta, it says the following. Barishona, at the beginning, היו אומרים, אין מוכרים חמץ לנוכרים, ואין נותנים לו במתנה, אלא כדי שיוכלנו עד שלא תגיע שעת הביאור. So, the Tosefta, which you need to read it very carefully, it's a Tanaic source, and it says the following, that at the beginning, which we need to understand, what does it mean in the beginning? So we will immediately see what time are we talking about. But the ancient halacha was what? that you can sell your chametz to a nochri, and you can gift it to him, unless you know that he is going to finish it up until the time that you need to burn the chametz, which means you cannot, it's even more than the Torah to some extent, when you think about it. It's even more machmir, it's even more stringent than the Torah. The Torah says what? That you cannot have it in your home, which what seems to be that if it's not in my home, it's fine. According to the halacha keduma, according to the ancient halacha, the idea is that you can't sell it to the goy and you can't even gift it to him unless you know that he will finish it up until the time that you need to burn it, which means what? When the time comes that you need to burn the chametz, you cannot have chametz in your home and you cannot have any chametz that belongs to you, even if it's not in your home. That was the ancient halacha. Until עד שבא רבי עקיבא ולימד שמוכרים ונותנים מתנה אף בשעת הביאור. So Rabbi Akiva came along, so we already know בערך, approximately, when Rabbi Akiva operated. He operated obviously before Rebbe. We are talking about probably, he supported Bar Kokhba, which was 135, if I'm not mistaken. And then in 70, there was the Churban HaMikdash. So we are talking about Tanaim from really the time of the Churban. So he says already, he changed the ancient halacha, and he says, no. You are allowed to sell the chametz to a goy or to gift it to the goy, even in the time that you need to burn the chametz, which means what? Rabbi Akiva says no. When we talk about chametz that you are not allowed to have in your house, it's only if it's in your property. But if you relinquish your ownership by selling it or by gifting it, it's not considered yours, which is a tremendous chidush. And Amar Rabbi Yossi, אלו דברי בית שמאי ואלו דברי בית הלל, הכריע רבי עקיבא לסייע דברי בית הלל. So now we understand what this Tosefta says בראשונה. We know that Bet Shammai, that the house of Shammai, and especially Shammai, tried to maintain the ancient halachot. And some of it were very stringent. And Bet Hillel came along and tried to develop some kind of a new method. Basically, Rabbi Akiva saw the ancient halacha that was presented by Bet Shammai that says that you can't own it and it cannot be in your home, which was more stringent than the Torah law. Bet Hillel says no. If you relinquish your authority, your ownership from the chametz, you can give it even in the time that you need to burn it. And Rabbi Akiva decided the halacha is like Beit Hillel. So now we have an edut, a testimony to a tremendous change in understanding of bi'ur chametz or owning chametz. According to Bet Shammai, you can't own it, you can't have it in your property. According to Bet Hillel, you can have it in your home, it seems to be. You just need to relinquish your ba'alut, your ownership from the chametz, which is a tremendous change from the ancient halacha that probably applied in the time of the Beit, of the Beit HaMikdash HaSheni, the second temple. And then towards the end of the Beit HaMikdash HaSheni and after the Churban, after the destruction, we have a new halacha. A halacha that basically says you can gift it or you can sell it. We're not talking about yet rebuying it and repossessing it. We're not there yet. But you can gift it to someone. You don't need to destroy it, or you don't need to make sure that it's being consumed before the time of the bi'ur. Everyone is with me? Good. So now the Mishnah, that is also same time in Psachim, says the following: כל שעה שמותר לאכול מאכיל לבהמה, לחיה ולעופות. So all the time that you can still eat chametz, which is until Sh'at Bi'ur on the 14th of Nisan, you can feed your animals, your birds, everything that you have. ומוכרו לנוכרי, and you can sell it to the נוכרי, ומותר בהנאתו, and you are allowed to enjoy the chametz, not a problem. עבר זמנו, the time came to בי'ור chametz, אסור בהנאתו, you are not allowed to have to derive any benefits from it, ולא יסיק בו תנור וקיריים, and you cannot even use the chametz to create fire. רבי יהודה אומר, אין בי'ור chametz אלא שריפה. Now, Rabbi Yehuda says that the only way to destroy the chametz, to nullify the chametz, is what? Is to burn it. Which means, according to Rav Yehuda, when he reads Tashbitu, for according to Rav Yehuda, the way he explained the Torah law of Tashbitu is what? Sreifa. The way you can be mekayem, the way you can fulfill Tashbitu, it's by burning it. וחכמים אומרים, אף מפרר וזורע לרוח או מטיל לים. And the rabbi says that no, you can also make it into crumbs and throw it into the air, or to throw it into the river or to the ocean or whatever it is. Or what we will do this year, I'm not sure we will be able to burn the chametz, definitely not as a group. So if you have something in your backyard, you might burn it, but if you can't, so don't have too much chametz, and just take the crumbs, the 10 crumbs that we put for bdikat chametz, and flash them in the toilet. And if you have more chametz, just pour on it like something that will nullify it from achilat kelev, and then throw it to the garbage can. But that's what we do. So it seems to be that according to Rav Yehuda and Chachamim, they both agree that the word tashbitu is what is to basically destroy the chametz. You can't have chametz. So you already see that this Mishnah also somehow related to Barishona Hayu Omrim, meaning the ancient halacha says that you need to, basically the chametz needs to be out of your sight, out of your ownership, out of your home, and if you have some, burn it, destroy it. Rabbi Akiva did not say that you need to destroy your chametz. You can sell it, you can gift it to the goy, even in the time that you need to burn it. So that will be, we see already, and I put it for you in a chart. Okay. Wow, 1 second. Rega. Where is it? Where is the chart? Not this one. What did I do? So here you see, we have, I put for you in a chart, החיוב ביחס לחמץ. So from the Torah, יש חיוב להוציא את החמץ מהבית. The Torah says that it cannot be in your home, בבתיכם. The ancient halacha, which was represented by Bet Shammai, they said, יש חיוב לכלות את החמץ מהעולם. You need to nullify, you need to destroy the chametz. You need to basically destroy it. You need to consume it. You can eat it or burn it, do whatever, but it cannot be, your chametz cannot be anywhere. And halacha meucheret, the later halacha, which was basically in the same time, but was accepted a little bit later by Rabbi Akiva, who represented the shita, the attitude of Bet Hillel, יש חיוב לחלט את החמץ. Yes, you need to consume the חמץ. אולם, רק חמץ שהוא בבעלותך. Only חמץ that belongs to you. אם אינו בבעלותך, if you are not the owner of the חמץ, בשעת הביאור אינך חייב דבר. Meaning, if you sell it or you gift it, so the חמץ is not considered as yours, it's fine. So you already מקיים ביטול חמץ. That's how you see, and that's the halacha that we follow. So you see immediately, you see that the Torah is what I will call level A. Bet Shammai added a level to it and were more stringent than the Torah. And then Bet Hillel took it a step, a regression, not a progression, but a regression, and said, no, what are you talking about? The only thing that is really important is the ba'alut. Who is the owner of the chametz? If I'm not the owner of the chametz, it's fine. I can have my chametz because it's really not mine. Okay. So this is, I will put that aside now. And now we will continue with an additional topic, and then we will put them all together. Any questions that I have? No. Okay. So now, let's see. Okay. Bitul chametz. Everyone can see it? Okay. So, how do we do bitul chametz, the nullification of chametz? So the Mishnah says like that. Ha'olech lishchot et pischo. If someone goes to the Beit HaMikdash to sacrifice his korban pesach, ולמול את בנו, or he goes to the ברית of his son, ולאכול סעודת אירוסין בבית חמיו, ונזכר שיש לו חמץ בתוך ביתו. So he left the house, and he forgot, said, oh my gosh, I have chametz in my house. I didn't eat it, I didn't burn it, I didn't sell it. So what do I do with it? So אם יכול לחזור ולבאר ולחזור למצוותו, יחזור ויבאר. So if he can go home, burn it, and do his mitzvah, wonderful. ואם לאו, and if he can't, it was too far away from his home, מבטלו בליבו. So he can, what? He can nullify the chametz in his heart. He doesn't need to do it in front of shlosha, to do a hefker in front of Beit Din. He can nullify it in his own heart. That's it. So now we have a very interesting thing here. We see that the lechatchila, the ideal is what? Levaer et hachametz. That was the ancient halacha, that you need to what? To burn it or to destroy it, to do something that the chametz will not be on earth anymore. However, b'di'avad, if you can't do it, there is another trick. What is the trick or the mechanism? The mechanism of bitul, which is the nullification. But it seems to be that the nullification of chametz, which means my attitude towards the chametz is going to be that it's nothing. It's only b'di'avad, meaning if you can go home and burn it, that's the best thing to do. If you can't, so you do bitul. So it seems to be that this is like most, it's like, it's better to do A, but if you can't, you do B. So that was the ancient halacha. And you can also see it in the Sifri. Sifri is a midrash halacha. And in the Sifri, it says like that, לא ייראה לך שאור, רואה אתה לאחרים. So the Sifri says the following. It says, when the pasuk says, לא ייראה לך שאור, but רואה אתה לאחרים, which means if I see someone else has chametz, I don't need to do like that, okay? I can just need to put a mask only on my mouth and my nose, not on my eyes, okay? So I can see someone else's chametz. The only chametz that I cannot see is my chametz. לא ייראה לך שאור, רואה אתה לאחרים. לא ייראה לך שאור, רואה אתה לגבוה. לא ייראה לך שאור, רואה אותה בפלטיה. Meaning, if you go and you see chametz in the street, it's fine, it's not yours. It's not part of לא ייראה לך שאור. And then the Sifri continues. לא ייראה לך שאור, בטל בלבך. What is לא ייראה לך שאור? So there is a different drush. The Sifri says, בטל בלבך, meaning לא ייראה לך שאור, not לא יראה לך שאור, אלא, meaning when you look at the שאור, when you look at the east, when you look at the chametz, it's nothing for you. בטל בלבך. Nullify it in your heart. מכאן אמרו, ההולך לשחוט את פסחו ולמול את בנו ונזכר שיש לו חמץ בתוך ביתו, אם יכול לחזור ולבאר, לחזור למצוותו, יחזור, ואם לאו יבטל בליבו. So that was exactly from the Mishnah. So the Sifri says that the kiyum, that the fulfillment of לא ייראה לך שאור is what? That you need to nullify it in your heart. So according to the Sifri, what do we have? We have the tashbitu is burning. That's what the Mishnah says also. Then you have an additional thing also to nullify it. It's like almost like an insurance policy. You know, burn it, and for those things that you didn't burn, just make sure to nullify it so it's not yours. So the chametz will not be considered that you have it in your home. So now, based on what we saw until now, we think that bitul chametz, that the nullification of chametz, is just b'diavad. It's if you didn't do biur, you do bitul. So if you look here, bitul chametz b'tkufat ha'amoraim v'tkufat stama degmara. So first, just a little bit of an introduction. The Mishnah and the Sifri is obviously the tkufa of the Tanaim. Okay? We have the Tanaim. Now we are jumping into, this was a real jump. 1 second. Yeah. We are jumping into Tkufat HaMoraim. We are talking about Rav. Rav was a Talmid, a student of Rebbe, who was Mesader HaMishnayot. And we are talking about now the beginning of the 3rd century. And the Gemara says that Amar Rav Yuda Amar Rav, Habodek tzarich sheyevatel. When you what is the mitzvah is obviously the bdika. You need to search for the chametz. Why? What's the purpose of the search? The purpose of the search is to find the chametz and to do what? Tashbitu, to burn it, to destroy it. But Rav Yehuda says, also you need to nullify the chametz. Now, why do you need to nullify the chametz based on what we see here? Take a look at the Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says, Rav Amar, צריך לומר, כל חמץ שיש לי בתוך ביתי ואיני יודע בו, ייבטל. Rav says what? That, look, I search, but I'm sure that I didn't find everything. So therefore, I'm going to create an insurance policy that if I have chametz in my house that I didn't find and I couldn't burn, so I'm nullifying it. So it seems to be that until now, until the beginning of the 3rd century, the idea is ideally you burn it, you basically destroy it, bediavad, retroactively, or just as an insurance policy, you're going to do bitul. You are going to nullify it, so if I didn't find it and I have it, it will be nullified. However, take a look at what's going on here with the Stama de Gemara. Now, Stama de Gemara, we are not sure exactly what time. No, okay. We're not sure exactly what time it is, but it's probably in the time of the Amoraim, late Amoraim, where you have Stama de Gemara, and they said the following, based on Divrei Rav, on the words of Rav, Kamash Malan, Kevan de Bdikat Chametz de Rabbanan hu, de Mideoraita bebitul be'alma sagila. This is a transformational change from the time of the Tanaim to the time of the Amoraim. Now the Amoraim claims, now by the way, this Gemara talks about how can we trust someone who is less than 13, that he said to us that he checked the chametz. How can we trust him? So the Chachamim said, I'll tell you, because Bdikat chametz is the Rabbanan, and therefore Chachamim can approve his Bdika. But the idea is, what I'm really taking from this Gemara is what? The mideoraita bebitul be'alma sagila. So now bitul, the nullification of the chametz, which is what? The nullification of the chametz basically works with the following mechanism. What do? I take the chametz and I say, look, ani mevatel oto. Balev, I nullify it in my heart, which means I relinquish my ownership from it. For me, it's nothing. Everyone can take it. It's like afra be'alma, it's like dust, it's like ashes, it's like nothing. Which means what? The bitul chametz in the time of the Amoraim reconnect itself to the idea that was brought by Rabbi Akiva and Bet Hillel, that the idea of how you distance yourself from the chametz is not by burning it, by destroying it, but rather by what? By distancing or by relinquishing your ownership from the chametz. So it's not considered as yours. That's what we do with bitul, and this is the idea of tashbitu. How do I know that? Take a look. One second. How do I go to page 3? That's page 4. So now page 3. Page 3. 1 second. We need to go to page 3. Okay. So Rashi. 1 second. Okay. Rashi said, בביטול בעלמא, דכתיב תשביתו, ולא כתיב תבערו, והשבתה דלב היא השבתה. Do you see, this is an amazing thing, Rashi, that he takes the understanding of the Gemara, the deoraita bebitul be'alma sagira, where it says mideoraita, that it's only bitul. Says Rashi, it says tashbitu. So take a look at what's happened here. The time of the Tanaim, Bet Shammai, and the Mishnah, and everyone thought that tashbitu is what? Is to burn it. Came along Stama de Gemara probably in the 5th century and says, no, tashbitu is balev. It's the nullification of the chametz in your heart. It's to distancing yourself and relinquishing your authority, your ownership from the chametz. which is a transformational change in the idea of tashbitu. Tashbitu is not to destroy it. You can leave it in your home. You just need to what? To be mevatel balev. By the way, this Gemara is also against the Sifri that we saw on page number 2. Sifri also says that the bitul is only to fulfill what? Lo yera'eh lecha seor. But not the fulfillment of tashbitu. Here we have that according to Rashi, it says tashbitu, this is bitul balev. By the way, you will see something very interesting. The Tosfot says, mideoraita bebitul be'al masagila, peresh bakuntre, so Rashi explained, midichtiv tashbitu velo ktiv tevaru alma ashbata balev. So he quotes Rashi. But Ri HaZaken has an issue with that. He says, v'kasheneri, dehai ashbata avarai velo bitul. Tosfot asked the question that we just said, that was the main chidush. Tosfot says, what are you talking about? How can you understand that when the Torah says hashbata, tashbitu, it means to nullify it? No, lehashbit is to burn it. This is the ancient interpretation. How can you change what the Torah says, what the Torah meant? Tosfot disagree with Rashi's understanding in the Gemara because it's too radical. Basically, the Gemara, Stama the Gemara, in the 5th or 6th century, we take everything we knew until now from the time of the Bait or the tradition that we had, that the understanding of Tashbitu is what is the idea of burning, and we change it into what? Into nullification. Tosfot disagree with it. Everyone is with me before I continue? Any questions? So unmute yourself for a second and just ask the question, please. No?
I was going to say that I said that the word tashbitu in shoresh from Shabbat means to rest. When something rests, it can be awakened after it's gone to sleep. It is not dead. It is not destroyed. So therefore, I was wondering if that's the source that we can afterwards unrest it and buy it back.
Okay, so that's very creative in terms of how to use language and shoresh in order to try to understand the idea behind it. But I think that it's more than that. Hashbata, we will see in a minute, the ramification between also Ashkenazim and Sfaradim is more of that at that time. We're not talking yet about mechirat chametz and how you buy it back. I'm talking now about only bitul, meaning for me now it's dead. Now I understand it's not dead; it's just sleep.
Right.
But and then it will wake up, so I can regain my ownership. But leave that alone for just a second because it's not being brought yet. I mean, it's very creative. I will admit it's very creative, saying that the root is lishbot. Lishbot means that it's resting for now and it will be reawakened later on. I agree with that, but it's not what the Gemara says yet. Ve'omer Ri, so Ri suggests a different understanding, and he says, "Demideoraita bebitul be'al masagi mitam deme'achar shebitlo havi efker ve'yatsa mirshuto umutar midekamrinan אבל אתה רואה של אחרים ושל גבוה." So you see what Tosfot says? Tosfot says, no. Bitul, the nullification of the chametz, is not the fulfillment of tashbitu. The bitul is what? Is just, it becomes hefker. So if it becomes hefker, it's not part of your property. And if it's not of your property, it's the lo yera'eh lecha seor, what the Sifri says. Which means what Tosfot says, it says, no, tashbitu is to burn it. Lo yira'eh lecha seor, that you shouldn't have seor in your house, that you do, how? By nullifying it. Now, and he says, v'hada amrinan benedarim, hefker b'fnei shlosha, but in order to make something hefker, to relinquish your ownership, you need to have 3 people to have a beidin. He says, mideoraita ein tzarich. So what we see, Tosfot tries to minimize and to limit the chidush, and to say, no, tashbitu is still to burn it. Rashi says, no, tashbitu is to nullify it in your heart. And Tosfot says, like the Sifri, lo yira'eh lecha seor, this is, you do it how? By bitul. Now, if you take a look at the Rambam, I will skip to Halacha Bet. The Rambam says, "Umai hashbata zu amura batorah, hi sheyevatel chametz belibo." You see, the Rambam is clearly like Rashi, and he says no. The idea or the meaning of the word tashbitu is bitul balev. ויחשוב אותו כעפר, וישים בליבו שאין ברשותו חמץ כלל. And you should totally, your attitude towards the chametz is that it's afar, it's dust, it's sand, it's nothing. And ושכל החמץ שברשותו הרי הוא כעפר וכדבר שאין בו צורך כלל. What is missing, or what is the difference between the Rambam here and Tosfot? So, look at the nusach of the nullification based on the Sfaradim and Ashkenazim. The Ashkenazim says, "Kol chamira v'chamia deika birshuti, delo chazite v'delo biarte, libatil v'le'avi efker ke'afra de'ara." The Ashkenazim say, like Tosfot, when we do bitul, what do? We do hefker. We relinquish our ownership from the chametz, and also our attitude is that it's like afra de'ara. Why? Because we think, Ashkenazim, based on Tosfot, that what? That when we do bitul, we don't fulfill tashbitu. We fulfill only what we do with the bitul. We basically making it as hefker, so it's not in our ownership, it's not in our property. נוסח ספרד says, כל חמירה דאיקה ברשותי, דחזיתה או דלא חזיתה, דביארתה או דלא ביארתה, ליבטל וליאבי כאפרה דארה. What is missing? What word is missing? הפקר. According to the Rambam, by making bitul, you are not creating hefker. You are fulfilling the mitzvah of tashbitu. You see the difference? It's the difference in the how large or how much we want to maximize the chidush. According to Rambam and to Rashi, the fulfillment of tashbitu is to nullify it, and that it doesn't work just as because you are not the owner anymore. No, you are the owner, but you are like virtually burning it by being mevatel it, by nullifying it. According to Tosfot, no. Tashbitu is to burn it, like the ancient halacha. The only thing that we use nullification for is what is to fulfill the lo yira'el lecha seor. Why? Why it's not lecha? Because it's not yours. It's hefker. So you see, and this is I did for you another chart, so it's clear. So if you see here, this is a big chart. Okay. So, bahalacha akduma, in the ancient halacha, there is no way to nullify the chametz. We never heard about it. In the Mishnah, meikar adin meva'arim befual, you burn it, you really burn it. Bishat adchak, if you can't go home because you went somewhere and it's too far to go home, mevatlim, you can nullify it. Meaning, in mashmaut bitul, that's in the Mishnah, efker siluk balut. Meaning it becomes hefker, it becomes ownerless, and you relinquish and you distance your ownership from it. The Rav in the 3rd century says what? Meikar adin mevarim befual. This is the ikar adin, the principal law. You need to burn it. Again, very much like in the Mishnah. But matzmidin bitul lebdika liyeter bitachon. But you just, you do also bitul as a policy, as an insurance policy. The stama de Gemara, and here is the change. Meikar adin mevatlim. You nullify. This is the principal law. Not leva'er, but levatel, to nullify. Abdika, the search and the bi'ur and the burning, they become the insurance policy. Not the bitul, but rather the burning and the search. And then mashmaut bitul lefi Rambam, and I should say also Verashi and Rashi as well, קיום מצוות עשה של תשביתו על ידי השבתה במחשבה. This is the fulfillment of השבתה. So now, before I go to the next part of the shiur, which is mechirat chametz, I will just make a short a short a review of what we saw until now, so I know that everyone is with me and everyone is on the same page. The page is gone, but we'll get back to the page in a minute. The idea is that what we saw is that at the beginning, there is no such a concept of bitul, nullification. It was, you have chametz, destroy it, burn it, sell it before it's time to burn, and make sure that the goy also destroy it. And then later on, there is some kind of an involvement that the halacha testify on, which is what? No, you need to understand that there is a machloket at the end of Beit HaMikdash HaSheni, and obviously later on. We are talking now about relinquishing your ownership from the chametz, and that will be enough or sufficient, or that is really the meaning of what the Torah requires us to do. Now, when we talk about the bitul chametz, from the fact that it was definitely unknown at all, to the time of the Mishnah that it was some kind of, a bediavad, later on it became insurance policy, and later on it became the main thing that you need to do. You need to what? To nullify. That's mideoraita bebitul be'alma sagila. The idea of the stama de Gemara, in Psachim in Davav. And then we have another transformation that is being presented by Rashi and Rambam, 11th and 12th century, in Mitzrayim, Spain, Mitzrayim, that's the Rambam and Rashi in France, that basically saying that that no, bitul chametz is the fulfillment of tashbitu. That's exactly what the Torah meant. And Tosfot disagree with that, with the mechanism of bitul. Rashi and Rambam says bitul is tashbitu. Tosfot says no, it's only for lo yira'eh lecha seor, that you shall not, the seor cannot be seen to you. And this is a split that finds its way where? In the nusach habitul, the way we recite the nullification of the chametz. We Ashkenazim say ke'afra havi hefker ke'afra de'ara. We mentioned Tosfot. But the Sfaradim don't say hefker. It doesn't work as hefker. Really, according to the Ashkenazim, it's almost mutually exclusive. If you say it's hefker, don't say ke'afra de'ara. If you say hefker, the mechanism is relinquishing your ownership. If you want to be like the Rambam, to mean that it's nothing, your attitude towards the chametz, that it's nothing, that's the tashbitu, you don't really need to say hefker. So, no, again, the Sfaradim are a little bit more right than the Ashkenazim. What can you do? Okay, so we will move on to the next topic that we have, which is also interconnected. But any questions before I proceed? No. Oh, yes, Stephen. But you need to unmute yourself.
You need to raise your hand because I can't see. Feel. Okay, just a moment. Yes, Phil, please speak.
Does that mean I can look at my collection of open Scotch bottles and say "fe" and maybe take them back afterwards?
According to this halacha, at the end, I'll tell you what we do. We do like what we like to do everything together. Okay, we do bdika, we do bitul, we do sreifa, we do everything. But according to what the halacha kduma, what really Rabbi Akiva and Bet Hillel and Rav and Stama de Gemara and Rambam and Rashi feel, you can look at it, but you really need to be mevatel b'machshavcha. If you look at the Rambam says you really need to feel and to think. It's not a game. We're not talking about the game here. You are looking at the chametz, and you look at the chametz and this wonderful scotch, and you say, klum mit klum, gurnish mit gurnish. For me, and it's gurnish mit gurnish to the extent that if you have a non-Jewish friend and he comes to your home without selling him anything, he takes it and he says, wow, this is a beautiful bottle of scotch. You say, what scotch? What are you talking about? This is not scotch. This is nothing for me. Oh, nothing for you. How much was it? Oh, $3,000 a bottle. Wonderful. Can I take one home? Sure, you can take, because for me, it's nothing. That's, Phil, in a way, the idea that this is the fulfillment of the mitzvah of tashbitu, it means that you need to totally distance it from your mind, from your heart. You should have zero feelings towards this bottle of scotch.
Paul, please.
A quick question. In the Mishnah, in Masechet Pesachim, on page 2 of your references, it says Lahatzil min hanochrim, which means it's you can do the bitul Lahatzil min hanochrim. There was another stipulation.
Oh, this is another case that I didn't want to deal with in this shiur because it really requires another hour. What does it mean exactly, and what are the ramifications?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Any more questions? Something in the chat? Okay, so someone asked me, why do we need to burn it? So basically, according to the Stama de Gemara, you don't need to burn it. Bitul chametz is fine, is maspik. As I told Phil, we are doing everything today. And also, if someone wants to expand on this material, you can look at the Ran in Masechet Pesachim, and Rabbeinu Nissim in Masechet Pesachim. He at length, he explains the need for bitul, bdika, biur, for all the three things that we do. Flushing the chametz in the toilet, by the way, is based on the shita of not Rav Yehuda, but rather the shita of Chachamim. It says mefarer vezoreh laruach, that you can make it like a crumbs and you can throw it into the air or into the river, and this is also a way of tashbitu.
Please, Norman, do you want to say something?
No, I think the rabbi answered it. I was going to say, Rabbi, that that tashbisu to me always meant to destroy, and the destruction is takes the form of Rabbi Yehuda's shita of ein b'chametz el sreifa with chachamim, and that's the fulfillment of tashbisu. But you're saying the Gemara interpreted tashbisu in the form of bitul, so that's a stage before the destruction of the chametz.
Right, very good. If I was a chassid, and I'm not, I will tell you that the transformational change of bitul is from an external action to an internal action. Meaning, you can burn the chametz, but if you look at what you burn, say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to burn this chametz. I wish I would have it." So you didn't go through the experience of bitul. In a way, what Rashi and the Rambam says, on one hand, it's easier. I don't need to burn it. I can have it in my cabinet and I just mevatel it and I move on. But they require us to go through what I will call an internal process of what I told Phil, to look at this, a bottle of scotch, and to see it as nothing. It's really not, I don't need an external act to demonstrate my attitude towards chametz in the week of Pesach. By the way, I will just give you a little teaser. Tonight at 7:30, I'm giving a Drashat Shabbat Hagadol in English. I gave it in Hebrew last night. But I will also talk about the attitude towards chametz, which interrelated a little bit to this shiur. It means what? It means that I look at it and I went through an internal process that I look at chametz, and for me, I don't see anything. It's even more than burning. So it's an internal process that I go through. So now let's go back to the Mar'eh Mekomot. Let me just do this, do that. Okay. So now we are back here. And then let's see Mechirat Chametz V'Itpatchuta. Okay, so we're going to talk about the involvement in Mechirat Chametz. I hope you can see the page. I guess you can. Okay. You know what? 1 second. Let's do this. Here we go. Now it's bigger. Okay. Mechirat Chametz. So the Talmud says, it's really in the Mishnah, in Pesachim in Daf Kaf Aleph, it says, Kol shah shemutar le'echol, for all the time that you can eat, meaning before the Zman Bi'ur, mutar le'echol, you can eat it. You can also feed your animals. Okay. Ve'mocher la'nochri. You can even sell it to the goy. But here we're talking about you sell it to the goy before Zman Bi'ur. Okay. Ve'mutar be'anato, and you can enjoy the benefit of it, meaning you can take the money and everything else. Asur be'anato. Says the Tosefta, which is probably the most ancient source for selling chametz. And it says like that. Again, Tosefta, almost the same time like the Mishnah, what are exactly the relationship between the Tosefta and the Mishnah. This is an academic research of, and with different opinions. It's the Tosefta came to complement the Mishnah, to have new halachot, to do something in between. We're not for today, but it says like that: Israel vegoy shayu ba'im basfina. So a Jew and a non-Jew were on a boat, were sailing on a boat, and that was before Pesach. V'chametz biyad Israel. So the Jew has chametz. So I don't know if he had a sandwich or he had really a load of chametz on the boat, bringing it from somewhere. הרי זה מוכרו לנוכרי ונותנו במתנה, או ונותנו במתנה. הרי זה מוכרו לנוכרי, that's one case, he can sell it to the נוכרי. Here, the vav here is not ve, it's not and, but it's o, o. In the Lashon of the Tosefta, vav is o. By the way, I see Phil, I still see your picture here. You are always reminding me a lawyer. You know, with the law, it's always say and or. Right? In every letter, and or. Vav, this vav is not ve, it's here, it's not and, it's or. So you have two ways to get rid of your chametz. You can sell it to the nochri or gift it to the nochri, but how do you gift it? במתנה, וחוזר ולוקח ממנו לאחר הפסח, ובלבד שיתנו לו במתנה גמורה. So if you gift it to the nochri, if you gift it to the non-Jew, you can gift it to him and you can take it back from him after Pesach, but when you gave it to him, when you gift it to him, it needs to be a full gift, meaning you don't give him with a condition, give it back to me. You give it to him, and you probably know that the Nochri also understand that you probably want it back, and he can give it to you after Pesach. So here we see that we have this mechanism already in the time of the Tosefta. So you're talking about the beginning of the 3rd century, and even probably before, because the Tosefta also basically accumulated and collected ancient sources, ancient texts. So we're talking about probably even before the 2nd century, and we have the idea of selling chametz to a nochri. Now, here, obviously, we are talking about not on a national scale. We are talking about two individuals. You have a Yehudi, and nochri, you have a Jew and a non-Jew on a boat. Okay, we're not talking about big boats. We're talking about small boats. So the Shulchan Aruch. So now we are moving to, and I did it a little bit quicker. We move to the 16th century. So the Shulchan Aruch of Yosef Karo. Rav Yosef Karo says the following: חמץ של ישראל שעבר עליו פסח אסור בהנאה, אפילו אם ניחו שוגג או אנוס. אוקיי, ואם מחרו או נתנו, you see, או, he took it from the Tosefta, לאינו יהודי, so if he sold it, או gift it to a non-Jew, שמחוץ לבית קודם הפסח, so the Shulchan Aruch here require you to take the chametz out of your house, which is something that was evolved through time, אף על פי שהישראל מחרו לאינו יהודי ויודע בו שלא ייגע בו כלל, אלא ישמרנו לו עד אחר הפסח, ויחזור ויתננו לו מותר, ובלבד שיתננו לו במתנה גמורה בלי שום תנאי, או שימכרנו לו מחירה גמורה בדבר מועט. אבל מתנה על מנת להחזיר לו מהני. Says the Shulchan Aruch says like that. You are allowed to sell to a nochri, to a non-Jew, your chametz. And even if you know, the Jew, that the non-Jew will not touch it, and the non-Jew knows that you want it back, but you need to play dumb. You sell it or you gift it, and he plays dumb and he takes it and he makes all the kinyanim and everything, and he knows that that you want it back. And he says, and that will be fine. It just, you cannot have any condition in the time that you sell it or in the time that you gift it. Now, the Taz in the 16th century in Poland, so he discussed the Shulchan Aruch in length, but I just want to read to you two things. He says like that, Veshma mina, here we go. ושמע מינה, ואפילו בבית מהני בייחד לו קרן זווית. אלא ודאי דגם תרומת הדשן לא בא למעט ייחד לו קרן זווית, וזה קרוי נע מחוץ לבית ישראל, כך נראה לעניות דעתי פשוט. So first and foremost, the Shulchan Aruch required us to take the chametz outside of the house. You remember? מחוץ לבית, outside of the house. The Taz says, no. You don't need to take the chametz that you sell outside of the house. You just need to designate a place where you put the chametz. That's what we do, right? The chametz that you have during Pesach, after you sold it and after you nullify it and everything else, the chametz that you're not going to burn, you designate a place and you put it there. But then he says, ופשוט, הוא שהחמץ יהיה מונח במקום שהעכו"ם יכול לכנוס שם מעצמו, כדמשמע לישנא דגמרא דעכו"ם איילה דנפשי. וכל שכן שלא יסגירנו במסגרת וישראל יחזיק המפתח בידו, יניח חותמו עליו, וגם צריך שימכור לו בפירוש אותו החדר עם החמץ שבודיעים לו, כן, הרי הוא בבתיכם. So he says, look, you can designate a place for the chametz, but you need to give an access to the non-Jew to go and take chametz if he wants to, because you sold it to him, it's his. Meaning you can't sell the chametz, and if you remember from last year when you sold the chametz to me, and you appoint me as a shaliach, what did I ask you? Give me your key, or give me your phone number so I can call you and give it to the nochri, so the nochri can call you up and say, hey, Reuven, I want to take some of my chametz. So you need to give him an access, which means take a look at what's going on here. Here we are moving on from the Tosefta that talks about what? Just two people, a Jew and a non-Jew. We are talking now about a communal scale. You're talking about communities that now selling chametz, and they're not going to take it outside of the house. Why? Because you're talking about not a sandwich, you're talking about loads of chametz, you're talking about piles of chametz, you're talking about things that people didn't want to throw out. And they couldn't consume it prior to Pesach. And therefore, says the Taz in the 16th century, says Reb David HaLevi, you need to designate a place, but you need to allow the goy to go to that specific place to take the chametz. And then he says, V'kol she'eino oseh b'derech shezacharnu, which means some people didn't do it like that. So he says, if you don't do it the way I explained it to you, הרי זה עובר בבל ייראה ובל יימצא, וחמצו לאחר הפסח אסור בהנאה. He says, if you don't follow my instructions, you are violating the בל ייראה ובל יימצא. So we see something very interesting. We see a tremendous evolvement from an individual scale to a communal scale, and then you become more lenient. So now we have what we call arama. What is arama? It's a trick. We all know when I sell the chametz, I know I'm going to get it back. Or when I give the chametz, I know I'm going to get it back. So therefore, when you become so lenient and everything becomes such a, I don't want to call it chucha v'itlula, but it becomes something that it seems to be not so halachic. So therefore, the halachic decisors, the poskim, basically try to give it more validity. And what is the validity that you can do? You can say, look, you take the chametz, you designate a place for it. And in that place, what do? You need to give them key, the mafteach, to the nochri. And you need to make it somehow valid and serious, so people will not approach it as just, it's all a joke. And why do we do it? Why we became so lenient? So I will skip Dinei Halacha for just a second, and I'll show you. This is from Rav Zevin. I just summarized it from you. Rav Zevin, in his book, Moadim Uzmanim, he described the evolvement of Mechirat Chametz. He says the first thing was that the Tosefta was dealing with two people that were coming on a boat. And they permitted Mechirat Chametz to a non-Jew. That was a very limited, minimized Mechira. But already in the time of the Tur, in the 15th century, Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, he already understood that the case in the Tosefta was just a case, an example. But life changed. And a Jew carry more than just a sandwich. Jews start to accumulate more chametz because you had the abilities to accumulate more chametz in the house. And therefore, it was efsed merubeh. You couldn't just lose it and burn it. And therefore, the poskim already in the 15th century and even before, basically allowed mechira, which was on a larger scale than the Tosefta. Then the second evolvement, especially in the 16th century, was the following. Many Jews were able to sustain themselves and to have parnasa from what? From selling scotch, from selling yain shechar, from selling beer in bars. And therefore, it's definitely chametz gamur. You can't go around it. Now, you tell a Jew that supports his family and other families to close down the bar or to burn all the chametz that he has. He will look at you and say, Rabbi, you need to find a different job. He will not be able to do it. Therefore, he will do what? We will allow mechirat chametz, and we will allow it on a communal scale, and we will allow it with all the aramot, because we all know it's going to come back, but we're going to try to make it as serious and as valid as we can. So we will ask you for your key, and we will ask you for your alarm code, and we will ask you for everything so the goy can go into your home and take chametz. And then also, many Jews were able to support themselves by being involved in the feeding business. They will feed animals with chametz during Pesach also. And then they will sell the behemoth when they are fat to everyone. Now, if you will not feed the behemoth during the Pesach, they will be thin and like Pharaoh saw in his dream, ra'ot ukhushot mar'eh. Okay, they will be bad and evil. No one will buy them. So therefore, they allow even to sell the behemoth, the animals, with the chametz to the nochri. The non-Jew will feed the animals that belong to the Jew with the chametz that belong to the Jew that he sold it to him. And after Pesach, he will give him back the animals and the food. So you understand that the economical changes and the societal changes created a tremendous need, and the rabbis responded immediately with allowing more leniencies in the mechirat chametz. If you want something not from the 16th century, but from the 21st century, Rav Melamed in Penenei Halacha talks about what? Stocks, bonds, it's really stocks. If you own stock in a company that owns chametz, you should what? You should sell it. You should really relinquish your ownership. You should give it to a goy. Now, you tell a Jew that has 10% in an awesome company, okay, or in an elite company, to tell him just to give it to a non-Jew, he will look at you and say what? You can unmute yourself if you want. Okay, I got you. He will tell you, you are out of your mind. I'm not doing it. So basically what he says like that. We view stocks in the following way. The fact that I have 5% in, let's say, in Osem, in the company Osem, it doesn't mean that I can go to an Osem factory and to say, okay, I have 5% in your company. I'm going to take 10 bags of bamba from you for free because this is, I have 5%. It's not. You are not on the board of directors. If you are on the board of directors, it's something else. But if you just have 5%, if you have stocks, it doesn't mean that this chametz is yours. You just have the right to derive benefits from the company, but it's not yours. However, the people who really own the company, what do? They obviously sell the chametz. So what I wanted to show you with mechirat chametz is very similar to what we saw before with bitul chametz, with the nullification of the chametz and the attitude towards chametz. The same thing happened with mechirat chametz. There was an involvement. It started with basically, you can't. Later on, you can, but it's a Jew and a non-Jew on a boat. Then it became more on a communal basis. It became to the idea that there is more arama. It's more of a game. The Jew knows that he is going to get it back. The non-Jew knows that he's expected to give it back. But in order to not to make it a joke, the rabbis created a serious mechanism. You sign a document, you appoint me as your shaliach, we make a kinyan, I ask you for the key, I ask you for your phone number, I ask you for your alarm code, so the non-Jew has full access to the chametz, in order to balance the leniencies that we created. But what we saw and how economical changes influenced the halacha and basically required the rabbis to respond and to respond quickly and to respond in a way that will address the needs of the community as well. I will stop here for just a second. I'll look at the chat if I have any questions that I need to relate to. Relinquishing ownership and being mevatel belev. There is no difference between relinquishing ownership and being mevatel belev. That's exactly the chidush of the Gemara, which is that you, and also Tosfot says, even though hefker you always needs to have 3, here you don't need to. And it's getting back to you by owning it, because it's in your house. When you take it, you are the first one to take it from the hefker, so you become the be'alim. There is a link to the shiur tonight at 7. Oh, sorry. There is a link. You go to Nitzanim email. If you don't have it, I can, you know what? Just 1 second. I can maybe do it for you. Here, I'll send the link. Okay, that's the Zoom link. Many people remove the chametz from their physical possession in addition to the sale. How does that fit into this scheme? That's really based on the Shulchan Aruch. Richard asked why some people really take the chametz out of the house. That's because of the Shulchan Aruch that says leotzio michutz labayit, and the Mishnah Brura basically says that if you can, it's better. By the way, what we do, rabbis, when we sell it to the Rabbanut Rashit and everything, what we do, and what we did in Memphis, which was on a more of a communal scale, we put all the real chametz that we collected, whatever, in a storage place, and we put there all the tfasim, all the documents for mechirat chametz, and we rented that room to the non-Jew. So it was really his. Where is the source for mechirat chametz? Someone asked me. The source for mechirat chametz, or Paul asked me, where is the source for mechirat chametz? The source for mechirat chametz is the Tosefta that we saw, the Tosefta in Pesachim that says v'mochro lanochri, where the Jew and the non-Jew came on a boat, and also in the Mishnah, but that was before Biur Chametz, and that was not really the sale of Chametz that we are talking about. Anyone wants to raise his hand for a different question? If not, I will tell you all, Chag Kasher, Bari V'Sameach. We should have, Bezrat Hashem, a healthy and a happy and a kosher Pesach. Stay home, stay safe and healthy. And hopefully we'll have, Bezrat Hashem, better and brighter days with good health and Yeshuot and salvation, and Bezrat Hashem, Geula Krova, redemption speedily in our times. Leitraot.